Man, 20 books is so much more than I normally read in a month, and so there's so much that I read in April that it feels almost like some of this was 2 months ago. Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video, we're going to be doing my April monthly wrap up. And yeah, this is going to be a big one. I was a team captain in the latest rendition of the Battle of the Bands readathon, in which my team was absolutely robbed because we should have won. And it looked like we were going to, and then we ended up in third place somehow, which is a travesty. But because of that, there are 20 prompts, and I always make sure that I read all of them. So quite a lot of things that I got to in this month. A lot of them kind of on the shorter side, strategically. But we're going to talk through because there's quite a lot to talk through. And I started off with some novellas, starting with Elder Race by Adrian Tchaikovsky. And this was an interesting time. This is the base plot is there's this like anthropologist who's from a more advanced civilization, basically that's on a base on this planet to observe, and they think that he is some sort of wizard, basically. And it goes back and forth with like there's a translator, and so whatever he says, and when he tries to say he's not a wizard, it just doesn't translate, and so they think he is, and somebody's coming essentially to try to bring him on a quest to fight a demon, and kind of the setup there. I thought this was interesting. Tchaikovsky has really just unique and kind of fun ideas to explore. Although I think there was some missed opportunity for humor here, because it just felt like this could have gone a much funnier route, and I think that would have worked. Like I would have loved to see this concept with an author going a little bit more for like the comedic type of setup, at least a little bit, but I still think was an interesting time, and I'm really curious to try more Tchaikovsky. I've been enjoying his very diverse sets of novellas and stuff so far, so be interested to try out more. And then I did a Sojourn in Sunset Forest, which is still one of my favorite covers I've seen this year. And this is a prequel novella to the Book of Estea by Zamar Amar. And it's a prequel, but I think works better to read after reading the duology. And for me, it was so impactful because of this. This is short, and it doesn't do a lot of exposition. It just relies on you kind of already knowing the characters in the world to an extent. But seeing how things were before the main story makes this, even though this is kind of like a cozy novella, but knowing how everything turns out makes it so much darker. And so I think it just balanced really, really well. And it was just like the perfect cherry on top of that series, which I enjoyed a lot more than I thought I was going to. There's a few things like that in here where not kind of my normal kind of style, but things that I really enjoyed. And that duology I really enjoyed. And really, really cool world building, and I'm excited to see what that author is going to be doing next. But yeah, after reading Reven Earth and Sundered Moon, and then just this cherry on top, really, really enjoyed it. Then sticking with the things that are a little bit outside my normal sort of style, I did The Borderkeeper by Kirsten Hall. And this is technically the first book in the McCallis cycle. And I read Second Spear and Earc when it was new, because they were able to be read independently. And that was such a just odd, weird sort of thing, and this definitely was that as well. Now, I think having read Second Spear and kind of knowing some of the style prepared me, and this is the kind of thing I think if I'm in the mood for something just kind of odd, I think it works, because I enjoyed this. But this gave more background, but you didn't necessarily need for Second Spear. It did stand alone, but you're seeing a different perspective on what's happening, and following the Borderkeeper and those characters. It's kind of this weird mystery thing, and that's sort of what Second Spear did too, where you're in this very odd world where there's these 99 different levels of sort of like hell sort of thing, and that's McCallis, and there's like the different levels are ruled by different entities, and there's demons and gods and this and that, and it's just this very interesting setup where a lot of weird, unsettling things happen, and the author doesn't give you a ton of background. You just kind of are in there for the atmosphere, and yeah, if you're in the mood for it, I think it works really, really well. And then, though I didn't do them back to back, I did the second and third Book of Swords by Fred Saberhagen, and finished out this original trilogy. And there's a lot more here that was written in this world, but this was such an oddball kind of series. The first one was originally a patron pick, and it was one I had not heard of. of, and so I'm always down to check out some older fantasy, and very, very 80s feeling in the style. The base plot being the god Vulcan uses a human blacksmith and forges 12 god swords basically, and then they're spread kind of throughout, and each sword does some unique things, and like the gods are playing this grand game and like kind of betting on what's going to happen and getting involved to an extent, and it's humanity is just sort of the involved in there, and we follow some different characters and see some of the different swords, but you just never know what's going to happen here, because all three books have some just crazy things happening, and it just kind of feels like you're just thrown loose into this world, and you just go and things happen. And even the ending, like the last book just sort of ends. There's not really any resolution, which is a little disappointing, but at the same time just kind of makes sense, because this is just, it's not really overall about like, you know, your 3-act structure. This is more just like, no, we're just here, everything's chaos, things are happening, and and it's so you have a lot of the medieval type things, but then you also have some ancient technology, which seems to be more like our level of tech. You have all kinds of different characters, creatures, gods, all the pantheon, and it was wild. I'm really curious to read more in this world and just kind of continue checking out. There's lots of other books that look at different swords and types of things, so it'll be an interesting time to continue. And then up next, I did Flamefall by Rosario Mundo, which is the sequel to Fireborn, and I had meant to get to this for quite some time. This is not the shortest, but I mean, it's a bit more YA, so it reads pretty quick. But Fireborn, I actually think I originally read for a readathon, and was such a surprise for me, because while I really wish that it would have been written for the adult market and just not had the YA parts, it was excellent, and I really, really enjoyed it. And so I was really interested to get to this one. And again, this is a really great book. And Flamefall also was great. I really like so much of it. The characters are really strong. I like a lot of the setup and just the writing. Everything really, really strong. For me, it really is just the YA elements that just bring it down and keep it from being 5 stars again, because there's some stuff that's done that's a little bit tropey or a little bit just obvious as to what's going to happen that I wish would have been done differently. But at the same time, it's just really good. I'm definitely going to be reading the third book, hopefully kind of soon. And just, yeah, I've been very impressed overall with this series. And it's one that, although it's again, so several things here, has some stuff that's not my normal style. It's really good, and it continues up following the story from Fireborn, and it's the series its base is based off of Plato's Republic, and it's following a group of young dragon riders who are thrust into positions of power in their city, in charge of this area of these people that have taken over and rebelled against the dragon lords and their draconic laws, and so kind of set up in that time. But there's a lot of conflict and deeply character focused bits of the story here, including a new character who I think worked really, really well also. But I'm very interested to continue, especially the way this one ends. It's sort of a cliffhanger, although I saw it coming what it was going to do. Sort of a cliffhanger though, so I'm really curious to see where this one is going to end up. And then, again, I didn't do them back to back, but I did do books 3 and 4 of Amber and by Roger Zelazny, and this is a bind up of 10. I think I might honestly, this is one too where I kind of just want to binge the rest of these sometime soon, because these are so odd and they're very, very episodic. They're not, again, kind of almost like I said with the swords books. It's not very much like you go in and each book is like it's has that structure. It's more just things are happening, and they're just so crazy. It's such an odd series. It feels, I don't know, very 70s, just experimental, all kinds of different things happening, and it's sort of hard to even explain what the plot of this is. But you have the city of Amber, and you have the princes of Amber, and they're very powerful, and they can kind of travel through realms of shadow, which includes our world. There's like this shadow that they can pass to, and there's power plays, there's exploration. We get to see different worlds. There's magic, there's science. There's just so much going on here, and you just never know what's going to happen next. It's just absolutely wild, and I've been really enjoying my time in the series, and so I think just kind of finishing it up sounds really good. So I might have to just end up doing that here soon. That was 1984, which, while obviously I'm very familiar with, I mean, I feel like this is one of the most like well-known books, so really familiar with the book itself, as well as a lot of aspects from it. I had never actually read this, and so I'm really glad that I finally did. Although I will say I found it very dry, and definitely some parts of it felt a bit dated with just the writing. But it's just one of those books where it's astonishing how relevant it still is. Like the themes and the things that it's exploring, the ideas, I feel like are kind of timeless, despite the fact that there's a lot of stuff that's supposed to feel of the time and yet has so much applicability. So many aspects. It is a wonderful book, although one that, actually reading I didn't find the most engaging. But there's so many things about it that are still applicable. Many of them in a kind of a scary way, but it's just one of those books that it's I do think really something that I recommend people check out. Just being aware that it is a bit dry to get through. So yeah, that's kind of how I felt on that one. And then I did The Martian by Andy Weir. And this is my second Andy Weir one after I did do Project Hail Mary first. And apparently most people who read The Martian first really love that. And then people who read Project Hail Mary first don't like The Martian as much. But I love The Martian, and I liked this. I didn't realize actually that when I was reading this that this was his debut, which doesn't make it really impressive. But I felt there were some things that kind of showed in that way where the characters all felt a little bit of the same. There wasn't a lot of like diversity between the voices of the cast. Everybody just sort of seemed the same. But it was just one of those books where like and the character gets trapped on Mars. I actually still haven't seen the movie, although everybody told me it was good when I did my review for this. I'm gonna have to watch it. But trapped on Mars, and it's just kind of like his struggle to try to survive until we can be rescued. And it's just like you can't help rooting for the character. And so I still really enjoyed this. Nowhere near as much as Project Hail Mary, but I had a fun time with it, and glad I did get to it as well. And then next up, let's see, because we already talked about those. So then I did Penriks Fox, which is the third novella that's at this bind-up, which is the first Penrick one by Lois McMaster Bujold. And I've heard a lot about the different Penrick books all kind of being different. And it took me, I don't know why it took me so long to finally get to Penriks Fox. But the first Penrick novella was kind of like, it had a lot of humor and was kind of the setup. The second one, we were exploring more of the world and the sort of like the religion, the magic. And then Penriks Fox is almost like a murder mystery in a really in-world creative way, because someone is murdered and they're trying to like find where their demon could have gone, and it turns out the demon, the only thing that must have been nearby was a fox. So they're trying to find the fox that's housing this demon that's escaped upon the person dying, essentially. And so it's this murder mystery centered around that. Less humor in this one, but still just the voice, I think, of these novellas has been really good. Has me still just interested to get back to more Bujold. I don't know why it took me so long to get back to, but I had a nice time with that as well. Then I did Arrows of the Queen by Mercedes Lackey. Actually, I had a bigger version from the library, and then I ended up finding this one. And this was a surprise. I had been really interested to try this author and this series specifically for quite some time. And I really enjoyed this. I just kind of felt the writing style charming. And there were some points that were a little bit slower, or not as much going on, or where it was a little bit younger reading. But I felt like the character was really, really well developed. And while there was definitely some of the tropes and things that you would expect, a lot of it, there was more complexity and depth. So I really enjoyed this first book here as well, although my results were a bit mixed on the rest of the trilogy, which I'll talk about when I do a series review for that as well. But was really interesting and kind of nice to finally start that with it. So that one was not a planned read this month. I ended up picking that up because I saw my library had bind-ups of that and another series that I've been wanting to get to, and I'm like, you know what, it's pretty short, so I ended up swapping that out and getting to it as well. And then originally I was planning to do both Yendi and Tekla from here. I ended up just doing Yendi because I made some swaps out, but that's the second book in the Vlad Taltosh series. This is a bind-up of the first three books, so Yendi is the second one. And this series again, so kind of like this is 80s granted, but kind of like I said with Amber, these are just off the wall, kind of weird. It's like there are no rules in this as well. And the Yendi, the second book, is more, it takes place before the first book does, and we're kind of learning about how Vlad Taltosh became who he was. So this is like, like fantasy mafia war plus politics and magic and murder, and just it is just an absolutely wild time. This is, again, I might end up, because a lot of these are pretty short, I might end up kind of just binge some of these, because I have a couple of different bind-ups of this, just because it's so strange, and I kind of just feel like experiencing them together might work out well for this. But again, if you want just sort of a wild, super out there and different type of fantasy with no rules, another good one to check out. And then my definite highlight of the month, and definitely going to be in probably my top books of the year, at least so far, Song of the Beast by Carol Berg. This is my first Carol Berg, although Carol Berg is also an author that I've been very interested to get to and to try out. And I had apparently, I thought Carol Berg had been writing for a really long time, but it looks like actually Carol Berg, although she was older when she was first published, is actually a lot newer than I thought. I didn't realize, but Song of the Beast felt like an author who was just super experienced, knows exactly what they're doing and executing so well. It's one of those books where the execution is almost as impressive as all of the things I liked about the books, with very bold POV choices and just this story that it starts very mysterious. You don't know a lot. You're finding out as you go along. You might not know everything you think, but the characters, the story, the world, the writing, it's just really fantastic. Really highly recommend this one, and I'm so excited to try more Carol Berg, especially after this one. But this was a pretty great introduction to an author for this being a first book for an author for me. So yeah, really enjoyed that one as well. It's following a character who's just gets out of this horrible prison after 17 years, and he doesn't know why he was in the prison. He was tortured there. He's just kind of trying to figure out what's actually happening and discovering things, and there's lots of big machinations that are much bigger than him going on. He ends up involved in. We have dragons. We have evil like dragon lords. We have different creatures and races and all kinds of really cool stuff, and just twists and turns that will keep you guessing. So really enjoyable one there. And then another one that I wasn't originally planning on getting to, but I ended up popping in and doing a swap. I did The Riddle Master of Head by Patricia McKillop. Now, I had previously tried the first chapter of this in the physical copy I used to have. I had a bind-up of the Riddle Master trilogy, and I could not get into it. Something about it just did not land with me. I found that the writing style just was not clicking in my brain. So I ended up deciding, hey, I'll try this on audio. It was a good time to kind of try this, do something a little different, and it didn't help. I didn't even do a review for this because I just felt like, I don't know, for some reason, none of it really just landed. It's just stuff just sort of happens. I did look up some reviews afterward. I'm not the only one to think this. It's just stuff just sort of happens. There doesn't seem to be a lot of reasons. It's just kind of character goes along, does stuff. Riddles are important, and I don't know. It's one of those books that just it left no impression on me. After it was done, I was just like, okay, and I don't think I'm gonna probably try out anything else by this author at this point. It just I don't know, unless if the writing style is really wildly different in something else that she's written, maybe. But just based on this, yeah, I don't know. It just is one of those things that just it was like a blank for me after reading this. It's just almost like it left my brain immediately. So I feel like this isn't one that's beloved by some, but I guess at least I know I'm not the only one. Like I said, I looked at some reviews, but it was it was different. Next up, I did Shadow of Wolves by J.R. White. Also was not originally one that I was planning. I did some swaps later on because I needed to do some shorter things. So I was trying to mix it up. But this one, originally I was gifted the audiobook quite a while ago by Mike Molman. And this is a Western, but obviously with werewolves. And this is like, it's not even like a fantasy Western, so to speak. Like, this is a straight up Western, and there just happen to be werewolves. And it looks like it's going to keep that up, but like with other creatures going on in the other ones. But I enjoy this actually a lot more than I expected to, especially after realizing this really is a Western. I think it does a lot of the Western tropes really well. It's familiar. It has the hallmarks of what you would expect from a Western, with that kind of added depth of adding like the werewolf. And I found the characters had a lot of depth and complexity and were compelling to read. And it's one that I'm actually really curious, and I'll definitely be checking out and continuing this series, because It was kind of interesting, and I'm not big on westerns, and so it was a bit of a surprise. But I'm curious to see what Kit Barker is going to be getting into next. It looks like from looking up the second book, it's going to be involving demons in book 2. So I'll be curious to see how that goes. But yeah, it was kind of a fun big change up, and I feel like it worked really well as a change of pace for me too, because it was quite different from everything else that I was reading in the month. And after that, I did Tahanu, which was for me finally considering Earthsea. And while I mentioned earlier there was a series, I'm like, I don't know why I haven't continued. Earthsea, I know why I didn't continue. The first book was like a nostalgic childhood read for me, and just kind of each book as I was reading, I just found myself not really enjoying them the most. They felt very, very dated and aged in style. And then Tanu, though, is one that came out quite a lot later and is really different, and it has a lot more depth and complexity, which is, I think, really good. It's exploring a lot more than the other ones did, but at the same time, it just didn't feel at all like it even belonged in the same series to me. It felt like it was so different. It was kind of its own thing, and so I ended up not really caring for it much. I just feel like while there were some really important themes being explored, and in some ways they were done really well, there were other parts of it that just didn't seem to fit at all, and just felt like we were kind of shoehorning in using these existing characters, and so I didn't care for it. I know this is one that's very divisive among fans, and it's at this point I don't honestly know if I'm going to continue with Earthsea. It's one that I've been planning to just kind of like tick off my list of big series that I'd read, and especially because the first book was so nostalgic for me from reading it when I was really young. But I've not really enjoyed my time going through, so I don't know if I'll continue. But Tahani was not a winner for me. After that, though, I did have a couple of good ones to finish off the month, including In a Time of Treason by David Keck. This is book 2 in the Tales of Duran, continuing my buddy read, which is just me at this point. I have a bad track record with buddy reads where I end up having a lot of people drop out, I feel like, but it's okay. I'm having a really great time. This is a series I remember really liking, but not like loving, and I'm really loving it this time. It's just, there's so much more, kind of knowing where things are going and seeing some of the really masterful ways David Keck set things up, just all of the different pieces. I love this world. There's such age, there's such history and depth to literally everything. Like, I would love to read a series that's just about like the founding of Eris the Old, this country, and like the people who came over on a ship. It's just so much great stuff, great lore here, and it's just very gritty and just all kinds of really medieval goodness. So I'm having a fantastic time, and I'm really excited to read book 3 in this month and go from there. And then I did Knights of Dark Renown by David Gemmell, which is one of his sort of like Draenei adjacent ones. This in Morningstar, where it was marketed as like it could be part of Draenei, even though it's not really, just because that was popular. But it has a pretty different feel. It's very Gemmell, and like the premise here is there were these knights that were like just the most pure knights of good, the knights of the Gabala. And they went off into hell to try to kill evil for good, and then they disappeared, and now like evil is roaming the land, and then eventually it's people who are less pure need to become knights in their stead. So this is the Knights of Dark Renown. We even have a great title scene moment like that, which was fun. And so it's a really, really Gemmell type of premise, but also has like more magic and some just a different kind of feel to the world in a lot of ways. This is still has some of those elements of heroic fantasy, but the style is a little bit different. This one's a little bit coarser and darker in some places, but also just goes in some different directions. And so it was one I quite enjoyed. It's probably like middle of the pack of my rankings, like from the Draenei books, which are the other ones I read. But honestly, it's just because most of the Draenei books were really, really great. But I had a really good time in this one as well. And then finally, which is also a little bit more on the disappointing one, but I did Urchin of the Rising Stars, the first Mistmantle Chronicles, book 1. This is something I'd read as a kid. I remembered really liking, and it's one of those books, it's always hit or miss when you pick that back up as an adult. Didn't really care for it that much. It was okay. I didn't think this was bad. It just was not quite as much as I remember. It's very, and this is, I don't know, I guess probably like middle grade is probably where this would slate, if not maybe a little younger. But like, there's a lot of child death in this for being younger reading, and it got the animal characters, which is what drew me to it. But it's pretty simplistic with the plot. With the good people are good because they're good, the bad people are bad because they're bad. So it's just didn't have as much in just the premise. There's not a lot of background to anything either, so just kind of basic and not bad, but nothing that I enjoyed. So I feel like it's one of those things that, like, sometimes kids books, they're good when you're a kid and just aren't going to stand up the same. And so this was that. I think it was bad. It just didn't stand up to me now as an adult, which is okay. It wasn't written for me as an adult, and I liked it as a kid. But finally, that is everything that I read in the month of April. It was a very busy month. There's 20 books in total there, a couple of bind-ups. There were multiple books in there. And so, yeah, I did already put out what I'm going to be focusing on reading for May or June, which is a lot less than 20 books for both months combined. But I always try to take it a little bit easy after a readathon month. But I have a ton of stuff that I'm really excited to get to, as I mentioned in that video. I do have reviews for most of the stuff either already out or coming, so definitely check those out if you are interested in finding out more about any of these. But that's really it for this one. Make sure to give the video a like if you enjoyed it. Check the links in the description, as always, for the Patreon if you want to support what I do, as well as the Wizard of the Enclave Discord if you want to chat books, whether any of these books, other books, really anything at all. It's a lot of fun, and we'd love to have you. And, of course, if you enjoy my content, make sure to subscribe.